And hi there from Nick.
Hi from Martin.
And today we're going to assess a property on number 40 Hulbert Street in M24. It's up in Middleton. I have high hopes for this property, so let's see how it all transpires in the assessment. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm not going to share my screen actually, because I need to get the property details up, which I'm going to do. And if you'll bear with me a second, I have them here.
Honestly, I really like this property. It looks really nice.
So do I. Oddly enough, so do I. I've got a good vibe about this. I like this one too. It does need a bit of work, but it has a few compromises, but there's something very nice about it.
Yeah, and I think the rent will be really nice for it as well. So
yeah, well, let's see. So I'm going to share the screen and then we can start to look at it all. All right, here it is. As ever, I'm going to go through the estate agency stuff and then we can look at the pictures and so on. Good brick quality. How do I know that? It's all kind of shiny, which means that the bricks don't absorb water. It's good. I'm not sure what period this is. I suspect it's 1900 to 1920, but Martin, you'll be able to tell us.
Yep, it should be that, or maybe early before 90s.
Okay.
But the interesting part is that for all the properties, it said that they are built between 30s and 49. Only for this property said that this built before 90s.
Well,
I'm not
yeah,
sure.
then it must be wrong. Yeah. Because if it's on a terrace, then they're all built at the same time.
Yeah.
So there isn't a great deal of information on the estate agency pictures, which is why, as ever, we need to look at the Viewer stuff. But a few little telltale signs. Firstly, it looks like it's had an extensive renovation, which is good. It looks as though it's had some rewiring, maybe not necessarily throughout, but that's been rewired fairly recently. Anyway, the estate agency pictures don't really tell us a whole lot, apart from this is the layout. And with that in mind, let's get on with the pictures and see what we can see here. Now, one of the things with this property is that the agents, so the agent is somebody I know, which is a thing, and ooh, nice old Jaguar. Anyway, the agent's somebody I know, and she's actually very helpful, and she was saying that whilst they've had 9 viewings or something, they've only had 1 offer so far from a foreign national investor. However, and that was somewhere in the region of 137. As ever, I don't know the exact number, but I can approximate. Now, there's a whole bunch of interesting things with this property, which you may not notice, but that's why I'm here. So let's see if you can guess. There's one massive thing that's been done, and that is cavity wall insulation. So if you look around the property, you see lots of drill holes all over the place. There's another one, there's one, there's one. This is typical of a property that's had cavity wall insulation. So when Martin digs out the EPC, it'll be able to, he'll be able to tell us.
EPC is 74C. It's really great.
It's amazing. Well, that's really good.
Honestly, I really, really like this property.
Yeah, me too. A bit of vegetation on that, and also some pointing needs to be done, but that's not particularly big work. It's just work. This must be after the war, actually. The reason I say that is because that's a concrete lintel, I think, and that you just didn't see those pre-war. So I'm not sure, but it looks like that to me. Now, looking at that roof, it looks okay. There's a bit of a dip here. That's okay. It's old and it's one of those things you get. So it's not a particularly large dip, so that's all right. And also, just looking at this, it has had quite a lot of pointing done in the past, maybe 20 years ago or something like that. It doesn't have the drill holes for damp proofing. Now that may be because it's actually damp proofed properly from original build, which I suspect is the case. So that's interesting. And that kitchen is quite old. It's probably repainted wood, like a brown, maybe original brown kitchen, and then it was repainted.
Yeah,
I think
so.
that's the
Yeah, because look like the old brown kitchen, but doesn't matter. Looks nice, looks
Yeah.
okay. Maybe some fixes, little bit the door, but.
Now, Nancy, who did the viewing on this property, did say it needed quite a lot of decoration. You can see just the cut-in lines between the dark color and the light color aren't very well done. So it definitely needs a painting and decorating, but that's fine. And probably replacing the hob as well, just because as a general rule, gas hobs are dangerous. Now, one other thing that's interesting is that that's quite dirty. Now, what that tells me is that this vent actually works, which is great. And when we see a picture of the back, we'll be looking for the vent for that thing. But I expect it does work, because otherwise if it didn't work, the air wouldn't be pulled through, that wouldn't get dirty and so on. So that's good, because a lot of these vents don't actually work. And again, the plugs are up nice and high, which is good. Quite a lot of space here. That's great for a dishwasher and a washing machine, which is a nice add-on. And if it was me at this price point, I think it's a property that wins on a lot of other fronts. I wouldn't even bother changing the kitchen. What do you think, Martin? Maybe update the handles or something.
But. Yeah, I will do like as Nancy said, like I will maybe some repainting, changing maybe not the cabinet door, just the handles.
Yeah.
And painting maybe change some carpets when we'll go for it. But basically, it doesn't need to change a lot. I will not spend a lot of money on it because in this price range, you don't need to make it look perfect. You need to make it already nice. You just need decorating, and I will not spend a lot.
Yeah, I agree. And also, you've got this thing here. I don't know what's going on with that. I don't think it's anything particularly serious. But one of the things that works with this is you've got the bifold doors, which is actually a nice feature. And then you've got the big open space. You've got the vinyl on the floor, which is actually fine. Unless it's really messed up, but it doesn't appear to be. I think I'd leave that. I'd also leave the feature vinyl wall covering on the back of the room. I think that looks fine as well. Yeah. The garden is fairly useless, I would say. There is a risk with all this vegetation around the place. One just has to be very careful that there's no knotweed in the vicinity. Now, knotweed, thankfully, is quite rare, but it's a scourge if there's any around. And there are searches that are done when the conveyancing process is underway, and they will tell you if there's a knotweed threat. If so, then it's a problem. So I think the way I would look at this is if it's accepted, I would probably get a knotweed search done as soon as possible, just to make absolutely sure that you don't have any issues. Just because there's so much vegetation around, I don't know what's there. All right, sorry. The windows are double glazed, I think, and quite nice.
Yeah, there must be because APC is so high. So.
And also nice panel door. I mean, I say they're nice, they're not nice actually, but they've put decent handles on them, which is good. So these are your typical 80s press panel doors. There's no coving, and that's a good sign, believe it or not, because generally when a ceiling got ripped out in the 60s or whatever, when it had a big renovation, they didn't put the coving back, and that's exactly what we have here. So that's good. Little donk and a clonk down there. This is probably an original wall, and therefore it's going to be plaster and lath probably, or if it's a stud wall, early stud wall. But I don't think it's a particular issue. Just, carpets need replacing at very most, and at very least cleaning. That all looks fine. It's not perfect, but This is what this house is. It's just a nice little house in a nice little spot. That all looks okay. There's something going on down there, but I don't think that's damp, so that's fine. And stairs looks fine. Kind of semi-economy bathroom, and this bathroom looks like it was renovated not that long ago, probably within the last 20 years. And the reason I say that is that mixer tap is quite modern. Like more modern bathrooms have mixers, older bathrooms don't. And you got this thing, which is good. And you've actually got mechanical extraction in here, which is also a good thing. A lot of bathrooms don't have this, so you have to leave the window open or whatever, and it's just you get mold buildup. There is mold in here. There's some black mold. That all has to be removed. But so far, this is all down to like just general paint and decorate. Leave the wall finishings alone. Find a similar color to match the existing color, so it's a one coat of paint job. You're all good. That kit, that's a flat panel door from the original refurb, I expect. You had those in the 60s and 70s. It all looks fine. Even that carpet looks reasonable. The double glazing all looks okay. What a cute dog. Hi. I quite like pugs. They're quite nice. Good temperament. And also you've got a little ventilation brick here, which is a good thing. It reduces risk of damp in the chimney breast. So yeah, there's been a leak somewhere. And yeah, you can see the hallway and the damp on the, not the damp, but you can see that it just needs repainting. All right, I think we're on to the videos. Let's have a look at those. Now, this is a very important point. This road has some parking issues, which we'll see in a minute when we do a sweep, but essentially it's a dead end road, a cul-de-sac, and at the end you've got a circular area where there's restricted parking. Now, one of the things they got from the feedback from the people who'd visited was that people were concerned about a lack of parking. And what's interesting is we've got one car, two cars. You've got space for maybe 3 or 4 cars in that spot. And I think there are some issues, but also it's a very quiet area. And if you were stuck with parking, you could park down the road. So there's loads of parking nearby, but it's a bit of a lottery, not a lottery, but parking at the end of the road isn't always dead certainty. Oh, they got a jet wash. That's good.
I think everyone have a space for park one car at least.
I think so too. Yeah. But this is a compromise, but I don't think it's a major compromise. Yeah, that vent probably works. We'll find out when we look at the back. The original cover, and you can see the cutting in not great. But overall, the decor is quite pleasant. I always find it a bit annoying when you have bifold doors and then you don't paint the edgings, the endings of them, you see? I see how they make this work. So the reason a couple of those under kitchen things are empty, of course, is because the fridge is in that cupboard, which is probably okay. Personally, I would put the washing machine, and if one had a tumble dryer in there, but whatever. Okay, well, that's not that modern. I'd say it's 15 years old plus. I'm glad Nancy's asking about the fuse box. It's a very important question, as ever with all of these viewings. Let's see if we can see it. Oh, that didn't do anything. Come on, Nancy, find the fuse box for us. Okay, needs a repaint. Well, needs a clean, then a repaint. Love the dog. Double glazing's good.
Nice picture of the couple. Yeah, it's painting, decorating.
I'm confident about the wiring just because all those plug sockets are within modern building regs. So this must have had a rewire probably in the 90s.
Yeah, as Nancy said. On the photos looks perfect condition, but basically it's not.
Yeah, it needs painting and decorating, but the fundamentals are very good.
Yeah, and it have 2 double bedrooms, which is great. The size is good.
I like this
single,
house.
but you can put a double. Yeah, and the size should be 69.
Yeah, so that it's consistent with a full renovation probably 15 to 20 years ago, which is great. So it doesn't need one for a long time, for another 20, 30 years.
Yep, it's really good. You just need painting and cleaning.
Yeah.
I don't think more than 6,000, 7,000 will cost renovation.
Yeah, maybe I think that's the right kind of ballpark for that.
Depends.
Come on, Nancy, where's that fuse board? That's where the old immersion cylinder or the old water cylinder would have lived. And I think that's it. So no fuse board, but actually I'm not too concerned because I think it's got modern wiring. I'm very confident about that just based on all the clues. All right, let's get into the next thing, which is the story, the growth and all of that and demographics. So the first thing is crime. There's basically no crime. It's an incredibly quiet area, which is wonderful. It's a little enclave, it's slightly tucked away, virtually no crime. And demographics are quite good. They are just a kind of middle class area, essentially. So it's not upper middle, it's a lot of, well, in this case, quite a lot of rented. So 20% local rented. That's good in a way. It's not overcooked on renting, but it's 20%. It means that the area works for renting, if you think of it like that. Yeah.
I want to add that this location is, I mean, it's really good and the demographics are good. And for this price of range, this kind of demographics are hard to find in Manchester. Just saying. It's a little bit far away, but just the demographics compared to, usually it will be, the prices will be much more expensive and the house will be really bad condition.
Yeah.
But in this case, everything's good.
So let's talk about the growth and what's going on. Down here, there's extraordinary growth, actually. We're seeing, so I'll go to M24, postcode district growth overall. And we don't have rental data for this area, but we can see 3%. So it's tailed off a little bit around here recently. And that kind of tallies with what I'm seeing with just agents and so on. Huge longer term growth. So I think overall this area is topped out a little bit, but we need to drill down a little bit and just look a bit closer and see what's going on. Around here, it's dropped. Now, I would say it's probably something to do with the local authority housing and things not working so well there, but also there's a lot of new build. So I think the numbers here are going to be a bit messed up. What'll happen is you have a load of new build that goes on sale, like 20 or 30 houses. That then affects the numbers for the area. So maybe you've got a big growth spurt or whatever. I'm not sure, but so there's two metrics here. There's nominal growth, which is actually okay, and then we have inflation adjusted growth, which is meh. So, all right, let's have a look at this one and see what's going on. Yeah, so this one is gaining ahead of inflation, which is interesting. But one thing that, yeah, so the thing I'm interested in as well is how it figured against 2007. So it's basically up to the same kind of levels if you adjust for inflation as it was in 2007. But the difference is that interest rates are so much lower than they were in 2007 that there is a bit of headroom in this. So I would imagine by peak of market, this area will grow another 15. So over the next 3 years, I think it'll keep up with inflation, assuming inflation is 6% per annum. So overall, from a growth point of view, I think it's solid. I think it's what I call a non-speculative market. In other words, it's a stable market. And I would imagine it would hold out fairly well in a crash. Let me just check one more thing. So 2007, oh, that's interesting. So this area dropped by only 5% last time. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to do the same this time, but it's this whole area, 8%, 11. This was quite, okay, this patch. Now, this dropped a lot, probably because there was so much local authority housing and people bought speculatively. But this area, not so much so. So that's good. All right. In summary on growth, I think it's reasonably interesting, actually. And the demographics are good overall as well, by the way. It's a good kind of regular area that's kind of culturally connected quite well with the rest of Manchester and so on. So nice. All right, over to you, Martin.
I'll share my screen. Yeah, and about the coal mining, the property is based here. When you unzoom, you will see there is a far away the coal mining issues and so basically it's free. When you see on the map, it's here. The coal minings you have somewhere here, here on this.
It's probably where the commercial property is.
Yes,
is
correct.
It? Maybe, yeah. Okay.
So basically, when we go high development area, it's not even passing because our property is here. When you see the high development area, so basically it's no risks. The year of build only for this property set before 90s, but for all our other properties around like it's at like between 30s and 50s.
Yeah, and also it feels like early 30s to me, this house.
Yeah, because for me as well, just because of the bricks works and, and how it's look all the house. There is a EPC-C, which is surprisingly good. C, but the score not only 69, 74. So basically you are free to go with this property about the EPC, even if something happened with the change in EPC. They invest so much in this property, I think. So,
they have.
Yeah.
This is a prime example, by the way. Like, this is what I really want to publish this assessment, after the event when everything's over. But just to say, this is the most prime example of a property that doesn't look great, but is fundamentally in great condition. And this is it. So, yeah.
This is one example because surface water is medium risk, but that's not a risk you can cover by insurance. And yeah, that's it. And there is rivers and the sea, very low risk. So basically it's no risk property. About the location, first I will go with it's not really close to Manchester, but when you go with a car, it's like 29 minutes. If you go with transport, it's 80 minutes. But usually it's cut this. I don't know why it's going. Why it's taking that. It's more. It's like 30 minutes. You can see it give you till here, and from here you need to take a train. So basically, it's around 30 minutes to Manchester. And about the location, it's like a really central Middleton, but far away. It's like a quiet neighborhood, quiet street with the property exactly is here. It's quiet street, as we said, like maybe some parking issue, but not a major issue because you have a lot of parking space around. Maybe you will not have in the front of a house, but you should have because you can see that here you can put one more car. If these cars are parking better, you can put 5 cars for 3 houses. How much more cars do you need to park?
You got that side, and then you got the other side. So, so you got 1, 2, 5 houses, and
and plus this car.
Yeah, you got a car per house, basically.
Yeah. You have, and plus this have a garage, so I don't see any like an issue. And about the location, it's really nice. It's really close to petrol station. Even by walking. So basically, you have 24 open market. You have a lot of markets here on this main road, like A669, and you have buses here as well. You have a big supermarket here, which is really close. So basically, you have a really big school here and here, and they are not bad schools. So everything is correlated. Properties in really nice location. Also, you have here path where you can go on this side. But if the property was in this rows is behind the industrial place, I will avoid. But this property is here. It's too far away from the noise.
Yeah,
Here
it's
is
fine.
Here is just the part where they park the
storage or something.
yeah,
It's where they park the trucks. Yeah, you can
trucks,
see it's
trucks
a truck.
in the storage. Yes, but also for the noise, you have a lot of trees. Plus, you have a river. So it's really like it's not an issue. Maybe it's a little bit compromised, but not at all. So basically, the location is really nice. For Middleton, it's really nice. Maybe you don't have the most green space around the property, but you have here some park, not really close. That's maybe like an issue, but it's not an issue. And here is the train stop, and also you have a lot of buses. So basically, the location is for Middleton. I really like. Yes, about.
It's a nice little town, isn't it? Or
Yeah.
it seems to be a nice little town.
Yeah, and you can see like this is the plot. It's not small. The last purchase, 2007 for 102. Now they estimate 130.
Yeah, so these people are losing money. There'll be what's happened here, just to explain, is if you factor in inflation since then, which is about 40%, I think, then and you work out like, so they bought, how much did they both pay for it?
107.
Right, 107 plus they probably sank
10 euros.
10,000 into it to do the renovations back in the day, which is about 15,000 in today's money. And they they sank that in, and so it owes them 103 plus 113, 120, and they're selling it probably for 140. Therefore, they're 10% down in real terms if you adjust for inflation. So there you go. It's just, this is, as I said, this is a textbook example of what we're always looking for, which is a nice little house, a few little compromises, and somebody else has spent the money, and you don't have to bear that cost. Yeah, it's just.
I totally agree. So this is the similar property 140. You can see similar type of condition, and it was the asking price was 140 in April. I don't know how much it was sold, and this was 130 also in April. But you can see not same type of property, and not the best condition as our. 130 asking. I'm really surprised why they're asking 130 only, and there is not a lot of competition for this. For you can see this 3 bedrooms, but 150 was the asking price. But in March. So I think when I will go to comparables, the rent maybe will go up to 750, but 700 will be the minimum. But I think it will rent for 750. You can see a lot of properties renting for 750, 75. But let's say assume like the worst scenario is 700, but I think it will be more. We will do the scores, and if you purchase for 142, you have really good deal. And like you can see the similar property 145, 160. But I will go with the newest. Maybe this will help. Not same type of 170, 145, 140 asking, 140, 130, but not the same condition. So I think 142 is win-win for this property. Even 145 in my point of view, because of the EPC, because of the construction, because of everything. So
yeah,
I
so
think I will beat, because even if it doesn't have competition, I will beat hard just to take it.
Yeah,
just to be sure.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, the negotiator is very good, and she knows what she's talking about, and she doesn't mess about.
Even this property on slope, but I'm not fan of it. Even this was asking 125 nearby, and you can see these properties are not the best for investment. They are even smaller. So, and look, the conditions are not bad, but this kind of property, the asking price was 120, and compared to this property what we search now, you cannot compare.
So you can see on that one, there's loads of issues. I've spotted several issues with that house just by scanning through it.
So let's do the calculation on the score.
Yeah. Okay. So there are some, like I say, the compromise is the parking. That's what's putting people off. But actually, that's not much of a compromise. Okay, so let's say
if it's a yellow line and you cannot, if you cannot park.
Yeah. So renovation
let's go 142, maybe.
And we'll say 6,000 for the renovation. Now there is one small thing which we don't really know about yet, and that's the roof. So Nancy hasn't been able to get a good picture of the roof, and I don't.
I can check.
Can you check Google Earth just to see? Now these slates they look.
I will share my screen.
You got a roof pic, have you?
So this is the roof. 2012 looks totally fine.
It's the second one out, isn't it? So can we just zoom in?
It looks like some missing, but I mean, some you just need to fix. But
no, I think there's some slates that aren't quite right, and there's some odd gaps, but
I'm not sure. But anyway, for this kind of roof, to change full roof is 4,000 or 5,000. If it's something wrong with the roof, even the worst scenario, even then the property will work.
I think that roof is probably okay. The reason I say that is because I think those slates are quite thick.
And I think they did because the EPC is 2018, and they have 200 millimeters loft, so that means they did it before 2018. So I think they fixed the roof.
Yeah, there may be some condition issues with the roof, but I don't think they're particularly serious. But it's
I
just
can see that
to
the
be
neighborhood make like a loft rooms on the top.
Yeah, that's been re-roofed, maybe. It's difficult to judge. I think the roof is okay.
But on the photos here, it doesn't. It look the same type of tail, so I cannot see so much difference between them.
It's also interesting how those people have done that huge extension on
but this property, I don't know why, but it's a little bit larger than, or maybe they did the extension already to the
I prefer the houses further down, which don't back onto that block of flats behind. And by the way, could you just go back to 3D view? Yeah. Now this is always a very good sign. If you have an area like a house like that, and then somebody invested the money and built blocks of flats like that aren't local authority, because they're not, then what it tells you is that somebody banked on the location being central enough to warrant having apartments. So that's good.
Yeah, and also I want to add, for example, also you can see this extension. People here have extension. Look how huge extension he made with garage. So that means only on this small part of the street, people invest in the properties. So that means the neighborhood is good. If you see like dirtiness, if you see doesn't extension and so on, that means people doesn't care. This is from 2018, and the roof looks totally fine. You can see some maybe that roof.
Yeah, that's just lead. So that's just the corroded lead. It's fine. It's a non-issue.
And you can see this 2018. The cars are okay for this price range, are perfect. So I don't think so there is some issue with the
Okay, well, let's go back to the calcs and just calcs and scoring. All right, yeah. In any event, it's one would just you know, it's going to come up in the survey anyway because the surveyor will go into the roof and have a look around. All right, what's the rent on this? Do you reckon?
I think 750 will be, but let's 725. Just like bad scenario.
Okay.
5.9 is perfect.
And I think it's going to get 20% more growth before peak of market. Now, inflation adjusted, it'll break even with inflation, I suspect. Who knows? But it's reasonable to say it's 48%. So in theory, if it all works out nominally, at least non-inflation adjusted, you'll end up doing okay. But anyway, let's look at the yields. So yeah, 6.11. Yeah, good yield.
I think this is really good property to invest. I don't want to like one of really good in the last few.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you on this. I even said in a comment, you know, I can't remember who I was talking to about this. I think I said to my wife, I pointed it out and said, I really like this house. Look. Anyway, all right, let's do the condition. The fundamental condition of this property is excellent because it's had the wiring done. The boiler is okay. Now, the boiler could be updated, but for what it is, for its age and all of that, I think it's good. I'm not going to give it more than 4 because it's not as good as a modern house, but I would give it a 4 because it appears not to need anything substantial, but also because it's on the kind of more economy end, as it were. People are okay with imperfections because they're not asking for amazing things because they're not paying huge money. Location?
4.3. It's very good. It has some compromises because of the parking, but it's not an issue. I don't see an issue.
Yeah, it's an inconvenience, but it's certainly not an issue.
Area is good. 4.1.
Crime is exceptionally low, very low. Demographic, I think, is just really quite good. Yeah, for this patch.
Yeah, for this price range, especially, is great.
Yeah, capital growth is 4.
I think it's really.
Yeah, so the growth in this area is likely to be solid and safe because we've gone from a period of let's go for the growth, let's get the gain and all of that, to yes, we'll get more gain, but let's just make sure that we come out the other end of the crash when the crash happens, because there have been 9 crashes since. I'll just quickly do this before we do the final thing. Okay, 1845, each hour represents a property cycle. So this is number 9. Number 10, if you count in the little one. So the paradigm that we're working in now is, will it grow? Yes. Will it be okay in a crash? Yes. That's why it gets 4.1. Okay, yield, Martin.
It's a really good yield, honestly. 60% for finding in much. 4.1, yeah, it's more than 4. Yeah, the yield is good. Usually, typical Manchester property will be 5.5 after the bidding. After all, because we included the
So that gets a very nice score. It's one of the highest we've got. We've also had this other one in Lawnswood, which was very nice as well, actually. But the difference between
but that was sold 35k more than the asking price.
Exactly. So the thing, and it just flew, and this is why we're just not going to, unless we see a really nice property in Swinton with the right compromises, we're not going to even bother. But this one, I think there's a real chance of being able to buy it. The vitals are excellent, and it's an oddly outstanding property. Really, it's very nice. We've got other properties that score high, but for some reason that just rings the bell with me. I don't know why, but I do know why. Because it's just a nice situation, nice little house.
I really like the Middleton for investing because it's a nice place to be.
Yeah.
to invest right now, because the prices are still have time to rise. The prices are still cheap, and I think this property will hit 180 at least next years.
Yeah, I think that's true.
That's my
and the reason
point
for
of
that,
view.
by the way, just so you know, is because it's within the Manchester catchment. The demographic is right. It's just nice people live there and all that, and you get a displacement effect. So as areas like M7, M9, these kind of M16, whatever, SK16, as these really hot areas get overbought, essentially, then investors try and they kind of displace and they work their way out. And then that's how you get the growth. You will get the crash, but that's how you got the growth. And the reality is that the affordability of these properties is still there. Unlike Droylsden, for example, which is now topping 250 to 270 for a standard 3-bed semi. Whereas really for this, we're talking 140, 142 or something like that for this little house. So the affordability is there for Middleton. Yes.
But when I see a property who have insulation, the walls, the cavity walls,
Yeah.
and it have everything what you need. I mean, the location is good. The house is good. Because you buying a house, you buying the location as well, but you're purchasing the house mostly. So the house needs to be stable and to not have risk. In this case, this is the house.
Yeah, well, I was assessing a property that somebody's come to us to ask for help with renovations, and it was sourced through somebody else, and it was just it was kind of the polar opposite of this one. So this house, the owners have just, a lot of these houses, previous owners don't pay attention to the fundamentals. And then you're left with a basic time bomb. But on this one, the wiring's been done. I assume the roof is very solid. The plaster work is nice. All that EPC work has been done. It's insulated properly. Like they obviously have the mindset where they put the money into the fabric of the building, as opposed to just tarting it up and trying to make it look pretty, but ignoring. So as I said earlier, if you add up the amount of money they spent and what they're going to get, they're actually making a loss over time if you adjust for inflation. And their loss, your gain, basically. All right. Well, thank you very much.
I really like this property. Even 145 is still working. Even 147 is still working in the rental and everything. So if I need to bid hard, I will. So I just feel when I like a property, it's good to have it. So this is one of them.
Yeah, I agree. We both agree because, Martin and I have looked at hundreds or thousands of bloody properties over the years, and we kind of know what we like and we like. So anyway, all right, let us know what you want to do.
Yeah, and anyway, we did like this assessment. We did more than 100. How much scores we have, that's how much assessment we did. So basically, we go deep for each property. So much detail. Check everything about the deal. So
we did a lot more assessments before we did the scoring system. If you remember, we've probably done how many viewings?
More than 200, I think.
Yeah, at least 200 assessments when we started doing assessments. Before that, we weren't, and we did lots of viewings and but when we actually started to knuckle down and do proper structured assessments, we've done about 200 of them, I think. So there it is. Anyway, right, enough of that. Okay, let us know what you want to do. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.